Hey everyone, Connie here, and welcome to my 13 movie review. So yeah, you may be confused on exactly what this is. Well, it's as the title says. I am reviewing 13 movies here, kind of going through them really quickly. I'm not going to talk about much spoiler stuff. Um, it's just like my quick thoughts on 13 different movies I've seen recently. So recently I kind of got into this like bug of seeing a bunch of movies that I just haven't gotten around to seeing before. Some of them newer, some of them older. Um, and it started with the first movie I'm going to review here, which I just kind of ended up seeing randomly when my dad decided to watch it on TV while I was out here. And then I decided to watch one that I've always wanted to see and never got around to, and then just kind of went from there. And it's pretty much ever since then, I've been watching at least one movie every day. And I've been enjoying it, but it's definitely kind of come to a head last night. Last night I watched three movies in a row. I don't know why. I just couldn't stop. I just wanted to continue watching movies. I stopped after the third one because I couldn't watch anymore. I was too tired. But yeah, so we're going to get into these, and we're going to just try to review them, as I said, pretty quickly, just giving my general thoughts on them and everything, not like going too into detail, not going too much into spoiler territory, because I don't want to, well, one, spoil any of you on anything that you might not have seen, but also it's just I want to keep this as short as possible. That being said, let me just make sure I have everything set for this. And we'll get it up with our first one, which is not actually coming up for some reason. Hold on. I'm sorry about that. Crap. Should be up here. There we go. Okay, so as you can see, the first one here is Hellboy, the 2019 version. So yeah, this is the movie that I mentioned my father had just kind of randomly decided to watch. He had seen it before, but he just decided to randomly watch it out of nowhere. Um, it was a movie I had wanted to see because I like David Harbour in Stranger Things and all, and I wanted to see how he played Hellboy. The trailers looked interesting. The movie was boring as hell. It just wasn't that interesting. The bad guy wasn't interesting. The story, the dynamic between the characters. There was one scene that was interesting. There was one scene that actually I liked, but I also hated. I liked it in terms of like, oh yeah, this was well done and everything. I hated it because it was horrifying. Um, I'm not going to go into details, but I will say that if you've seen the anime Blood Sea, or at least clips from the anime Blood Sea, you might understand how it's horrifying and why it's one of the most disgusting and just hard to watch things ever. We'll leave it at that. But yeah, David Harbour, like, he did fine as Hellboy, but it's just like even his performance couldn't save the movie. It felt really just off. Next up, we have Pan's Labyrinth. This is the one that I decided to kind of start this movie binge with after having seen Hellboy. This is a movie that came out a long, long time ago, and I've really always wanted to see, just never got around to it. This one surprised me. It was different than what I expected it to be. Um, it definitely didn't go quite in the direction I thought it was going to. And I kind of appreciate that. It took a lot of risks with its storytelling, and I feel like it really paid off. The movie is a lot darker than I expected as well. Like, not just in terms of like scariness or anything. It's dark in terms of its theming and whatnot. The characters are very well acted. Um, there's a bad guy in the film who's really hateable. Like they make sure you despise this villain. I'll leave it at that. But the fantasy elements are fantastic with it as well. I love the practical makeup effects. Um, Also, this movie is entirely in Spanish, which I did not know going into it. I just never knew that. I had never heard anyone mention it before. So I did not know the movie was entirely in Spanish. It took me completely off guard, but in the end, I mean, I don't mind. I just didn't know it was going to be. Um, Next up, we have Cam. Cam is a Netflix movie. Um, Long story short, it's about a cam girl who discovers one day that uh, her webcam her cam site profile has been taken over by a lookalike of her, and it starts to ruin her life. I won't get into any other details besides that, the main synopsis for spoiler reasons, but this movie surprised me. It's one I just kind of decided to watch on a whim. I saw it on Netflix and it's like, huh, that sounds interesting. And it's just like, okay, I'll check it out. And it was not that bad. Like, it definitely had a lot of good ideas to it and definitely had some good themes. It definitely was trying to teach a message in a way, but there were definitely some issues with it. The ending was really weird. And I mean, I get what they were going for with the ending, with the themes and everything, but it just felt weird from just a general narrative viewpoint. Um, and all in all, it just it could have been better. The acting was fine for the most part and everything, um, but it could have been better. And I will say, if you are thinking about watching it, this one does have notable nudity in it. It's not like super heavy, but there is a notable amount. I mean, it's about cam girls. It's about sex workers. So yeah. Next up, we have The Perfection, which is a larger file image. So sorry that it takes up most of the screen. This is another Netflix film starring Allison Williams and Logan Browning. Um, The Perfection, again, just general synopsis, is about um, a cello player who is getting back into, uh, well, performing after the death of her mother, and finds that her spot at this prestigious academy has been taken by a new girl. Now, I will say that this is a psychological thriller, that it has some horror elements to it. The actors and actresses in it are phenomenal. Allison Williams, prior to this, all I knew her for was uh, she played Kit Snicket in the Netflix series of Unfortunate Events series, which I loved her in. But I really didn't know the actress before this. Um, and she did phenomenally. Like, she was amazing in this. Logan Browning was also amazing. Um, this movie does a lot of things you really don't expect it to. And once it starts to do them, you start to realize, oh, it's like, oh, no, wait, that actually makes sense. Everything's kind of connecting. But then it's like something else happens. It's like, oh, wait, what? And that happens multiple times throughout the movie, but it's like every time it starts to connect, and every time things start to kind of become more clear. It's definitely a movie that I feel like if you watch more than one time, you'll understand a little better. Um, but even on a first watch, if you're really paying attention, you'll get it. You'll get it because I definitely got it. Um, and yeah, I really enjoyed it. I thought it was really exciting for lack of a better term. It was just an exciting movie to watch. After that, we have The Invisible Man, the new one. This movie, again, one of those where it's like, that's not what I was expecting. But unlike the other one, it's like this one, not in necessarily the best way. It was a little disappointing. The ending was disappointing. And honestly, there's a lot of it that could have been handled better in terms of the writing, in terms of the characters. Not the actors necessarily. The actors did fine. Just the characters themselves could have been handled better. Um, Overall, it wasn't a bad movie by any means. It definitely had a lot of good to it, and they definitely modernized the Invisible Man idea very well, actually. I just feel like there could have been a lot more time and effort put into it, or at least maybe have it put up against some focus groups first, because it definitely needed a little bit of work. After that, we have Glass. Glass is the third movie in the M. Night Shyamalan superhero trilogy that started in 2000 with Unbreakable, um, and continued with the film Split, which I believe was actually a surprise sequel to Unbreakable. People didn't know it was going to be a sequel until the movie came out and everything, and it kind of revealed at the very end that it was. But Glass is the sequel to Unbreakable and Split, and it basically converges the storylines from the two movies. Um, Very, very amazing acting in this. I mean, obviously, Sam Jackson and Bruce Willis are amazing, but James McAvoy has been really coming into his own lately as just a really phenomenal actor. Like, seriously, the way he portrays the split personality of this character of Kevin in both the movie Split and now Glass, like, that is some damn good acting. I would actually go as far to say James McAvoy is one of the best actors of the current generation, um, just from these movies alone. The story has a few issues to it. There are some problems that it causes, but that's an M. Night Shyamalan film, let's be honest. The ending is very open, and there's one plot element that's introduced that really needed a lot more time and effort put into it because it just felt like it was wasted. It was a great idea, it just felt like it was completely wasted. Um, I can say that it definitely has some surprises in it, and it's definitely not your average superhero type movie. It definitely, I mean, really, this entire trilogy now does its own thing rather than try to stick to the norms of the genre. But I think it works. Glass is definitely not the best superhero based movie. It has its issues, and it definitely does detract from the overall enjoyment, but overall, it is still very enjoyable. It is still a fun movie to watch, just for the acting chops alone. There are some great acting chops in this. After that, we have Django Unchained. Honestly, it's been a long time since I've seen a Tarantino movie, and I've always kind of wanted to see this, just never got around to it. And I'm glad I finally did. It is really good. Like, this is really good. One of these days, I might do a list of, like, my favorite Tarantino movies. Um, yeah, I knew the bare bones basics going into this. I knew it was about a slave who, back in the days of slavery and everything, who was fighting back and everything, and that's pretty much all I knew. I knew Leonardo DiCaprio was in it as a slave owner. That's pretty much it. So going in, I didn't have all the details, so I wasn't really surprised by a lot of the things that happened because it's like, oh, okay, because I didn't know. I had no idea. But there were some things that definitely caught me a little off guard. Just some choices that were made in the movie, and not in a bad way. The acting was great, and it was definitely a Tarantino movie with the camera work and everything, like the quick zoom ins and zoom outs and stuff that Tarantino's known for, all the like little like specific shots and everything. Like yeah, that's it's like oh yeah, this is Tarantino. The over the top blood and gore. Um, but yeah, it was a very fun movie, and it definitely did not in any way hold back with the racism from that time with the entire slavery deal. It very much went full on into that, and I actually kind of appreciate that. It might be hard to watch, and it was hard to watch. But I think that it actually makes it feel more real, and at the same time, it helps you like sympathize with the main character as well as it makes you hate the bad guys. Um, and I really thought it was fun. It was a really fun movie, like in the Tarantino kind of way. It was a very fun Tarantino movie. There's still plenty of Tarantino films I have not seen, like Reservoir Dogs and all. I never saw that, so there's plenty more I got to see at some point. But yeah, this was definitely a really good one. And Jamie Foxx, Leo DiCaprio, Christoph Waltz, Kerry Washington, Sam Jackson, all of them did amazing. Also, Sam Jackson's character, I'm not going to spoil his character, but he is one of the most baffling characters in this movie. But he's so fucking entertaining because it's Sam Jackson. um, it's like seriously, his character confused the hell out of me, but at the same time I didn't care because it's Sam Jackson. He's performing excellently. But moving on. Next we have Battle Royale, which is a legendary nerd movie, and it's like I've I've legitimately told people that I've never seen this movie, and they've legitimately told me that I can't rightfully call myself a nerd anymore. Like I'm not even joking. That conversation has literally happened. I've just never gotten around to seeing it. There was a time it was actually on Netflix, but it was taken off before I ended up actually going to try and watch it. I actually went to try and watch it at one point and realized, oh wait, it's not on here anymore. And then just kind of moved on. But I finally watched it, and it's a well-made movie. And obviously, it did really kickstart the battle royale genre. But saying it's hard to watch would be like very much not giving it enough credit. It's probably one of, if not the most unenjoyable film to watch I've ever seen. It's well made. It's just horrifying. It's so hard to watch. It's so unenjoyable. It's so disgusting and just elicits so much hate out of me that I can't say I actually enjoyed it. That I can't say I actually liked it. Again, it's well made, but I can't say I fully liked it when it just elicited that much hate out of me. Well, and I hated watching it that much. Again, I'm not going to give away any spoilers, but you probably know the basic synopsis that a bunch of teenagers are forced to fight to the death on an island, and only the survivor gets to leave. It's the battle royale premise. Um, Let me just say the reason they're there, the reason why this is happening, pissed me off so much. Not because the filmmakers chose to do that, but just in terms of what that was, what the actual reason was. It pissed me off. It just I got really legitimately angry at this film. And again, not at the filmmakers for making it or the decisions they made. It's just the actual content made me angry. So I can't really say I enjoyed it or that I like the movie. But again, it's well made. After that, we have Get Out, another one with Allison Williams. I saw this obviously after I saw The Perfection, So I didn't even know Allison Williams was in this until I saw it. It's like, wait, no, I just saw her, and it's like, okay. This was Jordan Peele's first directorial debut movie. Um, it was kind of his big switch up because Jordan Peele was known for so long for being part of Key and Peele, big comedy duo. They've done so many wacky things, and now he comes into a psychological horror film with allegories regarding racism and classism and stuff like that. And it's like, well, that's different. This film had issues. It definitely had issues. I feel like it was trying a little hard with its message. And I definitely got its message, and its message is relevant, but it felt like it was trying a little too hard on that and sacrificed a little bit of the story. The story felt like it was meh at points. The characters were great. The acting was fantastic. But the story itself and the writing and even some of the dialogue just felt really off, and not like off in a way that it should for this film. It just felt off. Also, the ending is really confusing. And there's a certain like piece of dialogue in the ending that felt so out of place and so tone deaf for what had just happened that it just completely broke the immersion because it was just so tone deaf. um, but it wasn't a bad movie. You could tell it's a directorial debut. You can tell that Jordan Peele had not directed a movie before. But at the same time, it's not bad. It definitely has its pluses. After that, we have Good Morning Vietnam, one of the Robin Williams movies I never got to see before. Um, to put it simply, there's a reason Robin Williams is considered one of the greatest of all time. And there's a reason why his death hit me so much harder than a lot of other actors and musicians and others who have passed away in the previous decade. He brings a joy, an energy, a charisma to this film like no one else. And I mean, he's not the only great actor in this. I mean, Forrest Whitaker's in this. But it's like just the pure acting chops, both in terms of comedy and legitimate drama in this, from Robin Williams, is outstanding. The story is pretty bare bones basic. It doesn't really do much. Um, but for what it does do, it's it kind of like Get Out. It's trying to teach a message. It's not backing away from the horrors and stuff of the Vietnam War, and it's trying to tell a message, which for the time this movie actually came out in the 80s was actually a big deal. Um, but at the same time, it felt like it was better handled than Get Out. It felt like it was more like it combined the story and the message in a more realistic fashion, in a more natural feeling way. Um, and when things really start like hitting, when the climax of the movie comes, it's like you're super invested. Because like everybody has probably seen the very little clips here and there of Robin Williams shouting into the mic on the radio, "Good Morning Vietnam." Like everyone's probably seen that, but it's like you don't really know what the actual story of the movie is outside of that a lot of times, and unless you've like looked it up or heard someone mention it. And it's like when I went into it, like yeah, that's all I knew about this movie. So it's like I go in and I see the story and everything. It's like, oh, this is actually pretty good. There's more to this. This movie really surprised me and is easily one of the best movies I've seen from this set of films. Next up, we have Us. So Us is Jordan Peele's second big movie. And this one was so much better handled. You could tell he's starting to get a better grasp on how to do these movies, how to direct things. That there's still issues. There's still writing issues. There's still a lot of directorial issues with this film, especially with certain twists and stuff in it. There's one at the end that I will say does not work that well. Like I get what they were doing, and it definitely is set up fine, but when you actually think about it, it does not work. Um, this movie, when I first saw it, it's like, okay, so it's about people being terrorized by their doppelgangers. That's interesting. But I never got around to seeing it, and so I finally did. And it's not it's not what you would think. The movie is so far different from what I expected it to be, but it's interesting. It's fun. It keeps you on the edge of your seats and definitely keeps you interested and invested. But at the same time, it's like it's kind of weird. Um, and two of the main actors, by the way, are both from Black Panther, in the MCU. Like the husband was M'Baku in that, and the wife who you see on the poster here was I can't remember the character's name, but she was a friend. She was a friend of T'Challa. Uh, Basically the female character who wasn't related to T'Challa in Wakanda, and who wasn't Okie. Um, because Okie's badass and was awesome, but it wasn't her. I think actually the character might have been a love interest for T'Challa, if I remember right. Either way, the movie was really interesting. And once you find out who slash what these doppelgangers are, it's like, "Ooh, ooh, what?" That was pretty much my reaction. Just like kind of shock and confusion and like, what? Um, but it was definitely better than Get Out, and it definitely shows that Jordan Peele needs to continue directing movies because once he really does get this down, he will be a big force in the horror genre. Um, then I saw Venom after that one. By the way, Us was the start of last night's binge, last night's three movie binge. Um, so I saw Venom finally. I have never seen this yet, and it's wild because I'm into the Spider-Man universe, and I love Spider-Man as a character. I love his villains. So it's surprising I've never seen Venom yet. I don't know why. I just haven't. So I finally got around to seeing it, and I loved this. I was so scared I wouldn't. I was so scared that because it's not connected to Spider-Man in any way that I wasn't going to enjoy this. I loved it. Like I really loved it. I loved Tom Hardy as Eddie Brock. I loved Venom, like the symbiote and the combined presence of both of them. I love the other symbiotes we got to see in this. I love that there were more. Um, I'm not going to spoil a lot of the stuff that happens, but it was really funny, which I really didn't expect it to be. Like I expected maybe a couple jokes here and there. I didn't expect it to be really funny as a movie. The bad guy, who at first does not seem like he's going to be, does turn out to be really threatening. And I like the post-credits scene. The post-credits scene sets things up for the second movie really well, which I can't wait for that to come out. I believe that's been pushed back to next year now, unfortunately, but I really am excited for that one now after like I had heard about the post credit scene. I knew what was in it. I didn't know the details. I had never seen it obviously. So it's like, oh, it was well done. Yeah, but this movie was really good, like surprisingly so. And it even had a few things I just really didn't expect in the best way. But moving on, the last movie I saw last night, and the final one on this list, is Spectre, the most recent 007 movie. not counting No Time to Die, which comes out in November. Um, Again, another movie I just had been really putting off, and I don't fully know why. Because I liked the films prior to this for Daniel Craig's run, especially as it rebooted the 007 series, the franchise, and started to do things anew and by its own rules. And so, since it was a reboot, I knew it's like, okay, they're bringing in Blofeld, they're going to do things different with him. Blofeld could have not even been in this, and you wouldn't have known the difference. He had absolutely no presence in this. Blofeld was wasted. Considering he's one of the biggest, most well-known James Bond villains, they just did not handle him right in this. Dave Bautista is also in this, by the way, and he was better handled. Um, he felt more like a good villain for this film. Um, Dave Bautista's a great villainous actor, by the way. He's always fun for that. He was good in Man with the Iron Fists as well. Um, and obviously, I mean, he's good playing funny good guys like in Guardians of the Galaxy as Drax. Um, but otherwise, even ignoring just the issues with Blofeld, this movie was just kind of boring. Like the story, it wasn't that interesting. In fact, there's a B plot involving M, the leader of MI6 and everything. And the B plot is actually exceptionally more interesting than the A plot with James Bond himself. The A plot is just really boring and uninteresting, and I just don't care. I just don't care. I mean, the movie connects to the previous films in this rebooted timeline with Daniel Craig's run in a very fun and interesting way. I will give it that. But other than that, it's just like I found myself extremely bored. And yeah, I was tired when I was watching this, I admit that. But at the same time, a good movie can pull me out of just being tired and still excite me and everything, and still get me invested. And this movie just did not. It's definitely the weakest of the Daniel Craig movies, not even a question. Of the Daniel Craig Bond films, it's definitely the weakest so far. And I'm really hoping that No Time to Die really makes a comeback after this one, especially since Rami Malek is in it. And I really hope Rami Malek's bad guy is not wasted, because he is such a phenomenal actor. Um, so I'm really hoping No Time to Die closes out Daniel Craig's time on as James Bond in a very good way. But yeah, so that finishes that. That's all the movies I have seen in terms of just recently. Not counting obviously Birds of Prey, which I watched on this channel, but yeah, I enjoyed some of these, some of them not so much, but I'm actually still enjoying watching these films, getting caught up on a lot of films, and even watching some that I've just never even heard of before. Um, and I feel like I want to keep doing this, so maybe down the line we'll have another big video like this. If you want to check out any of these movies, please do. They're definitely all worth checking out, I would say. Even Battle Royale, it's like you should probably still check it out. um, I would definitely suggest checking them out if you haven't. Again, some of them are on Netflix, some of them you'll have to find through other ways. Um, but yeah, I mean, most of them you could probably rent on YouTube. Um, yeah, you could probably rent most of them on YouTube, so you'll probably check there. Um, but yeah, if you've seen any or all of these movies, tell me your thoughts on them down in the comments below. I'd love to hear what you thought in comparison to, well, my general thoughts. Um, and yeah, I really enjoyed seeing these, so we'll probably watch more in the coming days and weeks and all. And I'll probably come back with another one of these videos at some point. Um, But all these other videos we do will still keep going. This won't interfere with anything, obviously. Um, but yeah, either way, I thank you so much for tuning in. And for now, I'm Connie and I'm signing off. See you all next time.